Right, hello and welcome back to Football with a Faff. We've got a new look, a new year, and a lot of tears. How are you doing, Charlie?
Yeah, not too bad. I'm doing worse after looking at that league table, but yeah, not too bad in general. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not been the best season for us. I can't wait for it to be over. I don't know about
Mm.
you.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe we'll just forget about the league and just play all the cups. That'd be
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, cup teams. Everyone loves a cup
Yeah.
team. But anyway,
Mm.
today we're going to be looking back at our Premier League predictions. How well have we done? We are geniuses, as we said before, so I'm sure we're 100% on the money. And I mean, it's not like there's any teams that have embarrassed themselves or done well above expectations or anything. No, 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 no,
Mm.
no, no. So anyway, let's get into our predictions. So my predictions are on the left, Charlie's are on the right, and let's kick off.
Because mine are right. Okay.
Well, are you sure about that, mate? Let's see. Here is our relegation zone predictions.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Yep. Oh, that's.
Oh,
I just made it.
Southampton was bang on.
Yeah, I just realised that I've done Leicester incorrectly. But so Leicester, you were two off. Can I just say you weren't bang on
Oh.
Leicester? I was bang on with Ipswich so far, at least.
Mm.
Um, yeah. So did you want to talk a bit about Southampton? I mean, second manager
What is
already.
there to say? Yeah.
It's yeah. I mean, I think they've done exactly as everyone expected. They've looked well out their depth.
I think you have to ask. My biggest question is they've got rid of Russell Martin because it wasn't working. They're playing a brand of football that they can't do in the Premier League with those players. And they've bought, I'm not quite sure. It's not like they've bought in someone to firefight and sort of keep them up at all costs, like a Big Sam type. And they've not bought someone that screams sort of progressive championship manager that will bring them straight back up. I'm surprised by the appointment after Russell Martin. That does
Mm.
surprise me.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't have any reference for him, but yeah, I, I just find it a shame when it feels like a team is such a lost clause, a lost clause, a lost cause. Um, yeah, I mean, if anything, Dibling's been a highlight. However, I'm
Yeah,
sure
yeah,
he's going to
absolutely.
be off soon enough. I know that Spurs have been trying for him, and there's potentially even a swap deal in for that. But yeah, I think it's been a shame that they haven't been anywhere close to putting up a fight. Other than obviously when they played you, but even that ended badly.
Yeah, yeah, it is tough. I thought I thought with Russell Martin, bizarrely, that they stood a slightly better chance of staying up.
Yeah,
Um, yeah,
right. So anyway, so obviously in 19th is Ipswich at the minute. Um, I think it's safe to say they've shown more fight than Southampton. I think everyone has, uh, but I think they're still just lacking quality to to survive the Premier League.
yeah, no, I agree that. Um, Obviously, I think me and the rest of the world, I think everyone's been impressed by Liam Delap. I like Hutchinson as well that they had on loan last
Mm.
year. Um, Smodix. They've got a couple of other sort of exciting players. Jack Clark hasn't really hit the ground running at Ipswich, but he's a good player.
Mm.
Leith Davis is good going forwards. Could argue how he is going backwards, but yeah, Jacob Greaves. I mean, they've signed a load of players that are sort of in that realm of top end of the Championship, bottom end of the Premier League players, and belong somewhere in the middle. And yeah, I think you're right. I think they just lack a tiny bit of quality, but they've certainly been exciting. Obviously, people compare them to Luton, but they're very, very different to Luton.
Mm.
Ipswich want to get the ball on the ground and sort of play through teams.
Yeah.
Luton were happy to bully people and have a bit of fun with it. But yeah, I think you're right. I think they're an exciting one, but probably just maybe lack the quality to stay up. But who
Yeah,
knows? I hope they stay up.
yeah, it'd be fantastic if they did. Off the back of two promotions in a row, it's always gonna be difficult to survive in the Premier League, and yeah, it would be fantastic if they do. I don't see it happening. Still, however, I think they do have some good Premier League quality players. So, potentially if they do go down, they will lose a few of those.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
Now, I think we sort of have to talk about the elephant in the room, Forest. I mean,
Oh, what's that?
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
it's
think Forest are struggling, and yeah, hopefully they'll find a way to stay up.
yeah. I mean, I can't believe Nuno's not been sacked. um,
Yeah,
I,
no, I have no idea how they put this run together, but they look the part as well.
mm,
It's not sort of hanging on to 1-0s. They look like they belong there. You watch Forest and they play you off the park.
mm, yeah, and I remember when we were doing our initial predictions back in the summer, and at the time, I think they might have just signed Sells and Milinkovic, and I sort of said, oh, if they can play well and they have a solid base, that can help them stay up, maybe be a bit more comfortable
Yeah,
than they have been recently. But it has just excelled them to a point no one could have predicted. They've
yeah,
got Murillo, who's been one of the
yeah. I
sort of
really like
best
Murillo.
young centre backs popping up recently.
Mm.
I think they recently signed him down for a long term contract as well.
Yep.
Um, so yeah, that they're starting to be smart. They're making good signings. They're keeping people that they need, because before it did feel very much like a scattergun approach of, oh, you're decent, you're decent, you're decent, you're decent, and it didn't work. I mean, it kept them up,
Yeah,
but by the skin of their teeth. Whereas now they're not as crazy. They've actually got a plan, and I think that this could be sustainable. I'm not saying they're going to win the league, but they could be the next level up.
yeah. I think Murillo, Milenkovic, Olorena, Gibbs White, Elanga, Hudson Odoi, obviously Chris Wood's in a bit of a purple patch, putting a Wanyi out the team, who
Mm,
everyone really
yeah,
liked before. Elliot Anderson's come in and done really well. I'm sure there are millions of others that I've forgotten, but that's not a couple of players carrying the team. That's a good sort of top level of player all around the pitch.
mm,
Yeah, been really impressed with Forest. Yeah,
yeah. They as much as they're making us look like idiots. It is amazing to see a team rise from. I guess you could say they were similar to Leicester when they won the league, but it does feel a bit different
yeah,
because Leicester was still a bunch of unknowns. No one really knew their players. They'd had some good performances, had some surprise results the season that they narrowly avoided relegation. But Forest have actually got. They're almost like the unwanted players of the top sides. Now that doesn't mean they're
yeah.
rubbish. It means they're Premier League quality, just not necessarily title winning. But they've managed to patch these players together and create a team that, I mean, could easily get Champions League football. It'd be incredible.
You'd be surprised if they didn't make some form of Europe this
Yeah,
year, and
yeah.
that's really impressive for them. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. Okay. So I think we'll move on to Leicester in the next section because we'll have
Okay.
a few more, but we'll look at our 17th to 14th places. So obviously I put Spurs here. Oh wait, no I didn't. um, so yeah, in seven. So we had Ipswich and Leicester the other way round to each other. Um, what have you made of Leicester so far?
Yeah, I don't think they're that bad. I think when they have the ball, they look really quite threatening, and they've got some really exciting sort of tricky players behind. Vardy. I mean, I like Buonanotte, El Canous, Mavididi. Their midfield are good ball players. I mean, Skip, Winks, he's well, Ndidi's still there, but
Mm,
they've got some good players in midfield. My worry is both ends of the pitch. If Vardy gets injured, I think that's huge trouble.
mm,
And the centre backs just don't quite seem up for it. And they've had their goalkeeper injured. So
mm.
I think the key to Leicester's survival is going to be making sure, one, that Vardy stays fit, and two, that they get a bit of momentum or maybe a couple of signings over the line again in the defensive third. But I think they've got a really good midfield.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, the only downside for them is they've already played Spurs twice, so that's those points gone. Uh, but yeah, I think whatever happens, it'll be an underwhelming season. I know they've just come back up, but with some of the caliber of players that they've got, I was expecting a little bit more from them. I'm not saying to be comfortable, but they've really been dancing around the relegation zone a lot more than I expected. And I did think at one point they would click and they'd have a decent run of games. They've won what, two in their last eight. I I still worry that they're going to go down. And it,
Oh, sorry, my headphones have just
oh
gone. Can you still hear me?
yeah, you sound a bit different now. Oh,
Ah, well, uh, that might have to be the case, unless you have any better plans.
no, to me, you're a lot clearer.
Oh, perfect.
um, but yeah, so I think that it would be a real shame if the three that come up go down. It's the biggest. It's not even a pet peeve. It's just a frustration with the Premier
Yeah,
League or with any league. And yeah, so if I see them, if anyone's going to survive, it will be them. But I do feel sometimes they shoot themselves in the foot.
yeah, no, I totally agree. Um, yeah, and I hope Van Nistelrooy does well, just from a personal point of view. But I think it's a big ask for them to stay up.
Hmm. Okay, so next up, you had Fulham, I had Brentford, and then we had them switched the other way around. Uh, so we had very similar predictions and ideas going into this season.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, Fulham especially, I'd say, have been another surprise. Maybe not as big a surprise as, certainly Forest, but maybe Bournemouth or Brighton, certainly at the start of the season. Um, but they're another side that can really turn it on when they want to. They've had a few late comebacks. They've had a few games where they've dominated. They've been unlucky in a few games as well, and I think it's another solid step forward for them this season.
yeah, I really enjoy watching Fulham. I have to be honest, I really enjoy them. Lots of exciting players across the pitch. Yeah, nice to see Jimenez doing well as well. I like Jimenez, so I'm glad he's sort of back in the goals and looking threatening.
Hmm.
Unlike you, who thought Rodrigo Muniz would score 20 goals a season.
No, no, no. It wasn't 20. It was 12 Premier League goals. And to be fair, he's missed some absolute shockers. So
Yeah.
I think if you look at his XG at the end of the season, he probably should have scored 12. But it's not my fault that he's missing them.
Yeah, no, I really like watching Fulham, and I think everything that is said about Fulham could be said about Brentford. They're very different teams, but
Yeah.
another team you want to watch on a weekend and you don't mind. They've got a couple of exciting players, and they've done really well without Tony. I think that's
Mm.
the thing no one sort of gives them any credit for.
Yeah, yeah. Spurs have got Brentford on Sunday, so I'm sure that will go fine. But again, it's the typical story with Brentford. Their home record is just immense. That they know how to shut teams out. They know how to grab a goal or two, especially with Vissa and Mbumo this season. They have been immense, as you said.
Yeah.
Tony who. um,
Mm.
I again, it's just another great example of how a team can cement themselves in the Premier League, because they're right now they're at no risk of going down, and should they keep their core players over the summer, I'd expect the same next season.
And I wouldn't be that worried for Brentford because if they lose
Yeah.
players, they tend to invest really
Mm.
well.
Yeah.
So even if they do lose a couple, I wouldn't be that concerned.
Right. So next up, we had a little disagreement with our 14th place. I had Everton, and you had Brighton. What was your
Yeah.
thinking with Brighton?
It just, I thought losing De Zerbi, I thought the feeling around the club at the end of the year was quite negative. Um, they always invest well, but there's just a couple like Lewis Dunk, for example, Jason Steele, the goalkeeper. They obviously bought him for Bruggen, but I feel like there were a few players coming to the end of the cycle. I thought Brighton needed a proper reset this year, or I thought they were going to have one. Maybe they
Mm.
didn't need one, and I thought the new manager could easily be a big hit or take a little while to get into it.
Mm.
I think we forget that Potter sort of had them just around mid-table for a lot of the time, and
Mm.
De Zerbi was the one that really pushed them up. And I think they'll finish somewhere between sort of 9th and 13th. So
Yeah.
I think that'll be an okay bet, to be honest.
Mm.
I don't think they'll finish that low, but I think they'll finish somewhere around 14th, and I don't know if they'll be happy with that, but I think that's pretty close.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, certainly everyone's eyes were widened at the start of the season when it was like, could
Mm.
Brighton start a title charge? That they just seem to be blowing everyone away. And then, as you would expect, that comes down as players get injured and, fatigue sets in. I think, in my opinion, when it comes, or when I've watched them and when, Spurs have had to face them, I've not felt as threatened as previous seasons. I don't think they're as high as they were before. Um,
Yeah.
and I can understand it taking a little while to get used to a new manager, etc. Um, so yeah, I think they'll be respectfully mid-table, but still have a lot of positives to take from the season. It's not a step back as such. It's just a change, and a change sometimes not makes things worse, but just you
Mm.
take a while to really reap the rewards from it. And I mean, I think we all know that Brighton are very good at reaping the rewards from sometimes outlandish decisions, or
Mm.
choosing either players or managers that you go, who? And yet they're superstars within a year.
And we can't talk about Brighton without talking about how big Danny Welbeck was before he
Mm,
was injured and
yeah.
how big he continues to be. I mean, it's tough if your season sort of rides on Welbeck's fitness.
Mm.
So that's a big ask, but he's been fantastic.
Yeah, yeah. It's incredible that he's still going so strong, and
Mm.
at times being the one that steps up and says, "No, right, we need a goal. Cool, I'm getting it. We're winning this game." Um, he looks a lot younger than he is. Didn't he score his first Premier League free kick this season as well, or something?
Oh yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
so
Yeah.
he's certainly an old dog that can learn new tricks. Uh, but yeah, I think Brighton's another side that they're enjoyable to watch. You hope they do well, and
Mm.
it doesn't look like it'll be Europe this season for them. But again, next season, I think there's a lot they can take forward.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And my optimism with Everton clearly didn't pay off. How did you know Everton would be down in that battle?
uh, I I just felt it's almost been like Groundhog Day the last few seasons for Everton.
Mm.
Everything plays out the same way, and I just didn't see anything in the summer. I know there was a lot of talk about them changing ownership and deals falling
Mm.
through and all that, and now they've got new owners, but I just didn't see anything that said, "Oh, we're gonna do well this season." We're gonna
Yeah.
change our way. We're gonna be comfortable. We are Everton. Um, you know, their main striker being Calvert-Lewin. You know, he doesn't score enough unless it's against Spurs.
Mm.
Uh,
And
um,
he's injured now as well.
yeah, he is. Yeah, it's karma. Uh,
Mm.
but yeah, they're not solidly defensive enough, and that's a big part of Dyche's play, where try and break us down.
Yeah.
And once they started shipping the amount of goals they were, especially at the start of the season, I mean that was really scary. Um, but I just thought, well, Dyche isn't going to last here because it's unattractive and it's not paying off.
Yeah.
It's two negatives and they do not make a positive. Um,
Well,
so,
hopefully Moisey can lift them out
well,
and get
yeah.
my prediction to be a bit more accurate. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, he's clearly started well.
Mm.
Leighton Baines, assistant manager, or
Yeah.
assistant coach, whatever you want to say. So, yeah, that was quite
And
funny seeing.
Charlie Adam as their set piece coach.
Yeah,
How weird.
I feel like we're going to get quite a few like that over the next few years.
Yeah. I wonder if set piece coaches will be the sort of new club ambassadors where you just bring someone
Well,
back to do set pieces.
well, that's what Spurs do with Ryan Mason. We've chucked
Yeah.
him in set pieces.
That's it. You've got to keep him there because he needs to do the assistant job, and then
exactly,
you've got to
yeah,
take over as caretaker every
yeah,
couple of years.
exactly. Every couple of years is a bit generous. um, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think I'm more confident that Everton will be fine now. And they're only, I think, 2 points behind Tottenham as well. But yeah, I think they will be okay. They do have some good players. I don't think they've got a good enough squad for the Premier League, but it's more of a case that there are three worse teams than them this season.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair reflection. Yeah.
Okay, so moving on up to the rest of the bottom half, which is a bit of a weird thing to say. We have got our 13th to 10th. So there you had Everton. So we weren't, too far off in that.
Yeah.
You had them 13th, I had them 14th. And then I had Bournemouth in 13th. You had them 12th. And then that is so weird. So we were sort of one out on all of these.
Yeah, that's so bizarre, isn't it?
And then you've got Brighton at the ends of both of ours. So
Yeah.
let's start with Bournemouth. I mean, I really like them. I do.
They've been brilliant. Yeah.
Their last two games, unbelievable. You've got two games of the seasons there. Go into Newcastle. I think it was a 12:30 game, which isn't easy. And from minute one, ripping them apart. Semenyo should have scored 2 minutes in, and he blazed it over the
Yes.
bar.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, you can't do that up at Newcastle. Well, you can.
They've
And,
been brilliant. Yeah.
and then, Newcastle equalised, and I sort of thought, oh, were they going to start, becoming dominant on the ball and, killing them? But, I mean, I don't know what they're doing at Bournemouth, but the way they're getting performances out of every player is just insane. It really is.
Yeah,
To see not only the commitment but the ability from each and every player. Kirk has scored the fourth goal up at Newcastle. I think he's been great. Obviously Clivert. I mean, wow, what a run of form he's gone into. Semenyo's been a bit quieter. However, he's always a threat.
Yeah. I think Clivert's goals have kind of Ouattara as well.
Yeah.
He's been a bit of a shock.
Yeah. And then absolutely obliterating Forest like no one has come close to doing this season.
Yeah, that was bizarre.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I expected them to win at home, but I was expecting maybe a 2-1 or something, not 5-0. I mean,
I thought Forest would win. Yeah, I had Forest march. Yeah, really surprised.
It's just a fantastic job they're doing, and I hope they can keep the project going. I think that's always the thing. But same as Brighton, same as Brentford, Fulham.
Mm.
As much as it's like, oh yeah, I wouldn't mind that player at my club. You just want to see them grow, and you want to see all these teams battling out together. You don't
Yeah,
just want to see them, become empty again when they've been cleared out. So yeah, I
and
hope.
then lost Solanke as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, how many people would have said, "Oh yeah, they'll be fine," after
yeah,
losing someone like him? So
yeah.
yeah,
I think it's
huge.
the manager. That's the one they have to
Mm,
keep. That's
yeah,
the most
yeah,
important.
yeah. I know
Yeah.
we've been linked with him and stuff.
Mm.
I'd be happy for him to stay at Bournemouth just because I like competition. I like seeing all these teams actually having a chance
Yeah.
to fight. Um, but anyway, let's move on to Wolves, who have they just can never push on. It seems. I mean, the Nuno days are long forgotten, and it's just
Yeah.
relegation scrap after relegation scrap now.
Yeah, Gary O'Neill didn't quite work out. I, I think they seriously could go down.
Mm.
I think if Leicester or Ipswich have a decent run at any point this season, I mean Leicester are out of there now, aren't they? They're just above them.
Yeah, yeah. Leicester are 17th.
I don't
Um,
look at Wolves and think they have more quality than Leicester.
mm,
Acuna is a really good player.
mm, yeah.
Take him out. Do they have a load of quality? Probably not. I
What?
don't think the manager, I don't know enough about the manager, to be
Mm,
honest, but I don't think he's sort of set the world on fire. I know they won that first game, but they've
mm.
sort of dipped back down again.
Yeah. One thing
Yeah,
with
I don't know.
Cunha I've noticed is he certainly seemed a lot more frustrated recently. Obviously, he had
Oh, yeah,
that ban for
yeah.
that spat, but they were playing might have been Chelsea a couple of weeks ago, and
Mm,
the ball was played through to someone on the left. I can't remember off the top of my head,
mm,
and they had a decent shooting chance or a chance to try and get it to Cunha, but I mean the defender probably would have got it. And they go for the shot, it gets saved, and Cunha just like jumps up in the air, spins around shouting. And I'm just like, look, the ball's still
mm,
in play. Your team still has the ball. Just get into a good position for it. Like I get it's frustrating because you want to score, you want to, you know,
mm.
get on the end of it, but if don't give up until the ball's gone. You know, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I just feel like if he doesn't leave in the last few days of the transfer window, he's gonna
Mm.
leave in the summer. Um,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I
and
know a couple of Wolves fans, and a couple of weeks ago, maybe last week, there was a big thing because he didn't go over and clap the away fans after a game.
mm,
And even the manager said that his attitude wasn't okay and that
mm,
that won't happen again and all of that. Yeah, it doesn't seem like a happy marriage at the moment, does it?
no, it's a real shame because it's the complete opposite of what you need in a relegation fight, and it might be the thing that relegates them. Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
you compare him to Vardy at Leicester. He gives everything, and I don't
Mm.
even know how many more years older he is than Cunha, but it
Yeah.
feels like Cunha's gone. Well, I've shown my ability. I know I can
Mm.
score more goals than anyone else here, and he's just waiting for a move elsewhere.
Yeah. And I guess the only other team we haven't talked about in this set is Palace.
Yeah.
I absolutely love Oliver Glasner. I love watching Palace.
Hmm.
I love Mateta. I think the new lad that they've signed seems really exciting.
Hmm.
SA.
Hmm.
Yeah, love watching Palace. Love Oliver Glasner.
Yeah,
I hope he stays and I hope they keep kicking on.
it took a while for them to click this season.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, definitely.
funny enough, until they played Spurs. It's a running theme here.
Yeah,
I
no,
don't like it.
absolutely. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, they've got some real quality players at Palace now, and
Yeah.
again, you hope they can keep them. I feel like they should be able to keep most of them. I think.
Yeah, I
However,
don't think there are too many standout individuals.
yeah,
I think Eze maybe his stock's fallen a little bit and he'll
mm,
probably end up staying. And there's obviously always a rumor that Gayhe's going to go.
yeah.
But other than that, I don't look at too many of them and think they're looking for a move away.
No, I think I saw somewhere that Arsenal are trying to get Tyreek Mitchell, but I don't I don't know if that would happen. Um,
No,
I don't think he'd want to be a backup. But yeah, they've got a very good team. obviously it would have been immensely challenging to match the final run-in they had at the end of last
Oh
season.
yeah,
I
yeah, that
mean,
was never
they
gonna
were the
last.
best
Yeah,
team in the league for that period. But even getting glimpses of it and just trying to get that consistency,
mm.
who knows, next season they might be challenging for Europe. This season I just see mid-table, and not to say just mid-table, but compared
Yeah,
to where
no,
they could be, and maybe where some
yeah,
people thought they might be able to reach after last season.
yeah,
Um,
no,
I
absolutely.
think it should be a goal for next season. Yeah,
Yeah, no doubt at all. I think that's a very fair appraisal.
thank you.
Mm.
Okay, so now we're moving from up to ninth to seventh. So here is where we had a few more disagreements, although
Mm.
still almost similar. um,
Yeah.
so let's go with West Ham. We both had them near enough the same position, just
Mm.
missing out on European football. What a shocker of a season for them.
Yeah, I mean the manager's just
Hmm,
not worked.
no.
It just went horribly, horribly wrong.
Hmm,
Yeah, it just didn't work. Potter coming in could be in an exciting one. That
hmm.
seems like a really good fit for the club and for him. It seems like the right sort of level for both of them, and I think they'll kick on. But yeah, I think the appointment of Lopetegui just went so unbelievably badly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's not a lot to say other than write off that first half of the season
Hmm.
and pretend it didn't happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when they appointed him, I literally went, what? Because,
There was a universal sort of underwhelming feeling. Yeah.
yeah, it was like, okay, they won a European trophy a few years ago. They've got the stadium, they've got some very good players. Is there a chance they
Mm,
can take a step up? And I think Lopetegui was one of the worst decisions they could make for
yeah,
manager because
horrendous.
it's
Yeah.
crap football, it's uninspiring. I don't
Mm,
think it utilises their players well. What what's the thought process? And I think Potter is a much more positive decision. So I know obviously they've wasted half a season, but let's see what they can do this second half. Obviously at the minute they got a lot of injuries. Obviously
mm.
Antonio's going to be out for God knows how long.
Yeah, if
It,
he ever comes back, yeah,
yeah,
that does
exactly.
happen. Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Bowen's out in.
yeah, exactly. I think Kilman's been quite poor this season. Um,
Oh, so I'd go the other way. I think Kilman's been one of the only standouts for West Ham.
I
I think he's been okay.
Yeah, when I say poor, on the whole he's probably been okay, but there's been a fair few goals they've conceded where he's just not really stepped up to the plate, and I'm just a bit like, mm,
Mm.
maybe
No, no.
my own prediction for him being one of the sort of top signings this summer,
Yeah,
has led me to
yeah,
have a harsher view. But yeah, I have been disappointed when I've seen him play, and just I,
that's
I
fair.
I remember I think they were playing Palace at West Ham, and he just kept backing off of Mateta, and he
Mm.
was almost on his 6 yard line, and it was like, well, you've let them have a much better angle
Yeah.
than I know. Obviously, you don't want to fly into every challenge, but also you don't want to just show them the goal, and I think
Mm.
sometimes when he's one on one, he doesn't make the best decision.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, I think the transfer window was a bit mad, and I think we all got caught up in it a little bit, thinking, oh, if these players do sort of play together, it'll work really, really well,
Mm.
and it just hasn't. But yeah, I think Potter's a good appointment, so
Mm.
I expect them to be somewhere around mid-table by the end of the year. I don't think they'll be dragged into that relegation scrap.
Mm. Okay, so let's move on to Potter's former team, Chelsea. Now, again, we both had them on the cusp of European football, maybe missing out.
Yeah.
I think they've done a lot better than I expected. Although
Yeah,
recently
it's
they've
really
dipped.
funny saying I think they've been way better than I expected, but they're
Mm.
only one place above where I had
Yeah.
them at the end of the season. Yeah, I I totally agree with you. Yeah.
um, yeah, obviously, again, they made some big signings. I mean, they've got more wingers than anyone could ever want, more than bloody KFC.
Yeah,
Uh,
you're
um,
trying to bring more.
yeah, it's ridiculous. I don't know if
Yeah.
they believe that's the only position or what. Um, I think that there is the foundation of a good team, but whether it's
Mm.
because some are too young or the manager can't quite give them the discipline they need to be a top side, I don't think they're
Mm.
making Champions League. Europa League maybe, but
I think they make the Europa League. Yeah.
yeah, I think between fifth and seventh, I would expect them because Newcastle are doing very well.
Mm.
You're going to have others that come into it, have a late push at the end of the season. Villa have still been doing well. Um, yeah, so I think it's a progressive season for them, even if it's maybe not where some of their fans want to be.
Yeah. No, totally agree. I don't think there's much more we can say about
Mm,
Chelsea other than they've been better than we thought they'd be, but league position wise, they're still about where we'd have guessed.
mm,
I think it looks quite promising, and you've just got to sort of stick with it at the moment. Yeah.
mm. So let's do Newcastle. You had them in ninth. I've got them a fair few places higher. How is it the fact that
Where have
maybe
you got Newcastle?
we'll find out? You nosy
Oh,
bugger.
I
Yeah,
was looking for him. Yeah.
yeah. And we'll find out later.
Yeah.
um, did you feel maybe they were too reliant on certain players and injuries could just hamper their season, or did you just feel the quality of the team as a whole wasn't enough to push for Europe again?
Yeah, I think I worried about their window. I don't think they signed well.
Mm.
And at the time we were doing the predictions, they just, sorry, might sneeze. No, all good.
Way.
It looked like the Saudi investment was being scaled back.
Mm.
I think that probably factored into it. But yeah, you forget how many good players they have that they don't need to sign. I mean, when you've got Isak, Gordon, I mean, Barnes is injured.
Mm.
Jacob Murphy's come to life, which I didn't expect.
Yeah.
I thought the centre backs might be an issue, but they've looked really, really solid.
Mm.
I thought Nick Pope being injured would be a huge issue, and Dubravka's been absolutely fine. Trippier going sort of a bit off of the rails, I thought would be
Yeah.
an issue again. Everyone stepped up.
Mm.
They've been the same sort of industrial, hard-working team that they always are, and their centre forward looks brilliant.
Mm.
So yeah, I think that was more to do with the vibe that was around Newcastle and the Saudi investment at the start of
Mm.
the year. But they've shown they don't need it. Yeah,
Yeah.
really, really good. Been
Yeah.
impressed.
I think Newcastle now are always a dangerous side. I think away from home they still need to improve. They're definitely not as strong as at home, although Bournemouth
Mm.
said screw that. um, but yeah, they've certainly got a lot of quality players all over the pitch now. A clearly talented backup goalkeeper as well to boot. So yeah, I think it's looking like they'll be in the League Cup final. It's looking like they could get Champions League football. It could be
Mm.
one of their most successful seasons in a very, very, very long time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Totally agree with that.
And oh, that's weird. My seventh isn't there. They've disappeared. They've gone missing. That's weird. Uh,
Yeah, so let's go. So is it injuries? Is it the way you play? Is it a mixture of all? Is it the situation around the club's just going to leave a dark cloud over it no matter how successful you are?
uh,
What is it? What is it all of them? What's
I
happening?
I would say probably
Spurs.
all of them. It feels like I would say personally this is nothing new to us. Well, the amount of injuries is new because I don't
Mm,
remember us having it to this extent before. But in terms of times getting tough, 18 months into a new manager's reign, the fan base divides,
mm,
players say a few things that might get them into trouble either with the board or with fans or whatever,
Yeah.
and it all just gets ugly very quickly. Um, However, it does feel a bit different. We've had three of our players take little shots at the board, including Son, Romero, and Kulusevski.
Mhm.
We've had Ange, giving as many nods to the board as he can, saying we're playing with fire. We could really do with some help. So I think in that respect, we're in desperate need of help, obviously. But in the short term, I would keep Ange right now because I don't see anyone who suddenly resurrects us from here. That comes in and
Mm.
just goes right, cool. I'm here now. Oh, guess what? You're back from the dead. So are you. So are you. Um, I mean, we cleared out our medical team and brought in a bunch of new ones. So hopefully the injuries subside now.
Mm.
um, but yeah, it's concerning. There's no hiding away from that fact. We shouldn't be 15th with the squad we have. I think the current players we've got are shattered. Kulusevski got a nice break last night, although he did come on to grab an assist. Um,
Yeah.
and to be honest, last night against Elfsborg was really sweet because we had three academy players each score a goal, and I think
Mm.
that's really just boosted everyone to say, yeah, it's pretty crap at the minute, but
Yeah.
we have a very young squad. We have a lot of players with a high ceiling. If we can get through this, and look, we're not going to finish somewhere respectable in the league, but as long as we don't get relegated, and who knows with a trophy, because we're still in every competition, we might be able to haggle our way in. I mean, I'm not looking forward to Anfield or Villa Park, but hey. um, I just think let's go for some positivity because we're not going to have another injury crisis like this again next year. We can't. Simple as. I think
I
if
guess
we
that's my question. What has to happen for Ange to get sacked? Is it
us to be
that
in the
players come
relegation
back
zone,
fit and you keep losing? Is there any limit? Yeah. What
I
what
don't
has to
know
happen?
because
If you went
usually,
out, if you, I saw Gary Neville say last
mm,
week, he thought if you went out of the League Cup against Liverpool and you got out the FA Cup, he thinks he'll go because that the feeling around the club will just be so bad.
yeah, I
And
think,
obviously, if everyone's pointing at Levy, his answer might be to sack the manager.
which it usually is.
But yeah, I
Um,
do actually. I want to say something on
yeah,
that
go on.
before you answer that question. I am the first person. I don't like Daniel Levy. I'm the first person to understand what it's like to have owners that sort of are in charge of something, but don't put any of the money towards the ambition of the club.
Mm,
And when they do it in the wrong way. But I think this is one of the few periods in Spurs history where Levy shouldn't be at the middle of it. I think
right.
after Poch, there should have been big investment in the squad.
Hmm.
When you brought in Conte, you had to accept that you've got to bring in his players, and you didn't. I think, bizarrely, when Ange came in, you had some decent players sort of stripped together and a bit of a mismatch of a team. But I think, I think you've backed him. You've had a lot of injuries.
Mm,
And if you're going to sign 50, 60 million pound players for 10, 20 games a season, that's bad ownership. That's not good. And that squad that you've assembled is a good squad when they're fit that cost a lot of money. I
mm.
get the wage structure is bizarre. How you manage to get these players and keep them on such low wages is impressive. And that is why they're annoyed.
Mm,
But other than that, it's the one sort of periods where I'd go, actually, I don't think Levy is to blame. I think you can blame it on the injuries because you can't be signing 60, 70 million pound players for
mm.
10 games to
Yeah,
keep you in mid-table. That would
yeah.
be stupid. You've got a really good supply line of young, exciting players. And again, that shouldn't mean that you don't sign anyone, but
Mm,
it should mean that you don't need to sign anyone for 10 games of a season.
mm.
I don't know. I'm all for blaming Levy, and I think he's done some things in the past that have hampered Spurs' ability to be competitive. But I think this is one of the rare points where I'm actually not sure you can. And
Yeah.
that's from a totally outside perspective, and I get the feeling of the fans and the football
Mm,
club like taking the concessions away, like so many clubs have done
mm,
across England this year, has brought a real siege mentality around all owners.
mm.
So I'm not saying he's the right person. I'm not saying he's done everything right.
Yeah.
But I think on the footballing side, this is one of the few periods since he's been at the club where he's invested well in the right people and sort of the right age of squad.
Mm,
So yeah, totally outside perspective,
yeah.
but I didn't know what you thought.
I would say, for me personally, I think the last 7 or 8 years we have stagnated. We have failed to capitalize on our moment. So that was
Absolutely.
what, 2017. I'm throwing it back to 2017 to
Yep.
2018.
Yeah. Can't disagree with that.
So I think end of the 2016-17 season, Chelsea won the league and we came second. That was the
Hmm.
best I've ever seen Tottenham play throughout a season. We
Yep.
we looked amazing, and we did not capitalise by boosting the squad. Whether that's saying, "Hey, you top striker, come here. Kane might be the main man, but we're going to need to rely on you a hell of a lot." That we didn't get a
Mhm.
top striker. We got Llorente, um,
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
and then the following year we didn't buy anyone for. I think it was just over a year. It was like 370 days or
Yeah, that
something.
was bizarre. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was bizarre.
that killed us because when we almost stumbled our way to the Champions League final,
Yeah.
everyone was dead on their feet. No one had the experience to sort of galvanize the group and take us through. It was all their first time. So I although don't get me wrong, that team was very good and capable of beating Liverpool as they'd shown before.
Yeah.
I think in terms of a squad, it was a it was a good one. However,
Hmm.
not a Champions of Europe one.
No,
um,
totally agree. That was the moment where you had to
yeah,
go, right, we're going to spend the money on 3 or 4 world-class
yeah,
players and bring ourselves up to that level now.
yeah.
Yeah, totally agree.
And then moving on from that, it very much felt like instead of replacing Alderweireld, Vertonghen, Ericsson, etc., with similar or even better quality players, we
Mm.
under Jose then just went for the backups. We played Dyer, we played Sanchez. We didn't really have a creative midfielder for a lot of it. I know Jose doesn't
Yeah,
play with a 10, but still, you need. We had Lo Celso, who was kind of there, kind of not. Again, a
yeah,
backup, and also very injury prone. Um,
mm.
so that didn't
Yeah,
work out. And then under Conte, we had a few of his type signings, obviously bringing in Perisic, etc.
yeah,
And I thought Perisic was a good signing. It was unfortunate he did his ACL and missed all of
yeah.
last
No, so
season,
did I. Yeah.
because I think he had 3 assists in his first 3 games. He was looking on fire. Um,
Mm.
but again,
Yeah,
it wasn't a fit for Tottenham. So you scrap that
yeah.
and then find a manager who, in my opinion, fits Spurs to a T in the way he plays, in the
Mm.
way he acts, everything like that. However, you're still going to have issues. And in the summer, not only did we shrink our squad, but we made it significantly younger. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I like a young squad that can develop. However, I think we still needed at least one more first team signing because I know Gray's been in the first team a lot. However, he's still 18. You can't expect him to do everything, and he's been out of position for pretty much every game.
Mm. I don't know. I think with Jed Spence sort of coming in when no one expected, I think Archie Gray, anyone that
Mm.
watched him at Leeds would have said he'll come in and be a backup at the very least.
Mm.
I think the
Yeah,
squad size is fine. I just think you've been desperately, desperately unlucky.
I,
I,
I
I actually don't think you're that thin on the ground originally, in my opinion.
I would say though, we were linked with Gallagher for a long time. I do feel like someone like him, who is a workhorse, could just come in and help just calm things down a little. And
Yeah, yeah, I don't disagree. But
again,
then again, midfield, you've already got Sarr, Basuma, Madison, uh, what's his name? Bentancur,
yeah,
Bergval, the young player who looks fantastic. Do you really need a sixth? I mean, most clubs don't have four. Yeah,
yeah.
it's tough. And
I
you've got Archie Gray, who's naturally a holding midfielder
Well,
as
yeah.
well.
I just think that potentially if we'd signed Gallagher, then one or
Mm.
two maybe would have gone.
But I
Whether
don't think you can blame Levy for that. If anything, I think he's bought the right players. I think
well,
you've got a really good squad.
well, personally for me, what I have disdain for Levy for is that we we had Paratici before he got banned for
Yeah.
being involved at Juventus, and then we brought in Johan Lange from Copenhagen, and
Yeah.
the whole idea of having these guys was that they're going to take over the football negotiating side, everything like that,
Hmm.
and Levy will take a step back. But that hasn't happened. Even this month, when we signed Kinski, Levy and Lange both went together to negotiate a deal. And
Mm.
for us as Spurs fans, we've seen it enough where it's the wrong choice gets made, whether that's the money that's offered and it's like, well, they're never going to accept that, or if it's
Mm.
the player that's chosen. But it feels like, can you please just step aside and almost just have a partner that not step aside as in leave the club, but focus
Yeah,
on
I
the
know
more
what you mean.
financial and give a budget, because it does just feel like we go in circles and we're not able to
Mm.
grow to
But
that
he's gonna
next
have
step.
to stay. He goes every week. He's been involved in football long enough. It's not like you can ask him to just step away from these things. And you're kidding yourself if you think that he was the one that picked out Kinski or Bergval,
No,
and he's just picking these players. If
I
he's
I'm
going to negotiate, he's an unbelievable business bloke. You can slate him for the rest of it. That's the one place I'd want him.
I just think that we've had too much of Groundhog Day with the signings, with players, with everything. The structure at Spurs is not a sound
Mm.
one. It's not. Well, don't get me wrong. The financial side is, but
Yeah.
the footballing team, and I don't mean the players, but the whole structure, they don't work together. They don't work in sync or anything at all. They have
Yeah, I don't know though. It's the first time where I think maybe you've got something together. I agree in general. I agree he should be slated for not investing at the right times.
mm,
But I think now you're getting everything right. I mean, all of the players that are coming in look really good, and I've never heard of them.
mm.
They're on a tiny wage for tiny fees, and you've got a manager that maybe is the wrong manager because of the way he plays, but he's exciting. The football is good to watch. I just think you've got a load of injuries, and I think you just need to ride it out.
Would you not think that, for instance, let's just take this window, that more should have been done?
I'd find it really, really tough because I would not be spending 30, 40 million,
What
let alone 60, 70 on half a season.
I'm not saying for that specifically, but even a loan option, just going out there and saying, you know, because we've done it before in January. We got
Yeah,
Bentancur
yeah.
and Kulusevski in January before, and they were on
But
loans to then
yeah,
buy.
yeah, I mean, you could argue a centre back, but again, who's going to
Mm,
sign for Spurs as a centre back, knowing that as soon as Van der Ven and Romero are fit,
mm,
they're two of the best in the league? Like, so you may as well ride it out because you don't, if to get someone better quality than Dragusin or something, you're looking at spending 40, 50 million
mm,
for someone that's just going to sit on the bench, maybe not even sit on the bench because he'll be there
mm,
whenever Van der Ven and Romero are fit. Fullback, yeah, maybe you could argue because
mm,
I think you've got two really good fullbacks, and then I think there is a step down.
mm,
Midfield, I think that's when you sort out in the summer and bring in someone to play with Sarr.
mm.
Madison is okay for the level now. I think you've got to ride it out with him.
Yeah,
Son, I don't think anyone expected to drop off as quickly, but you leave him out there, I think.
yeah.
And he's probably quite tired. Brennan Johnson's been good. Kulusevski looks brilliant. Solanke, when he's fit, scoring goals. Richarlison, if you could get rid of him, you might want to replace him. But if not, is capable of being that sort of semi backup. You bought a new sub goalkeeper who looks of a similar level as your first choice goalkeeper.
Yeah.
You've got cover for all of those players. It's just you've had such bad injury issues.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know is the answer. I don't know if I would have done more. I get the argument of looking in on loan, but you're gambling on these players not coming back if you're going to spend a bit of money on it.
I think you can also say that you're gambling that they're not going to get injured straight away again, like they have done.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. But if they all don't get injured at the same time, you're fine. That's the issue. If they all get injured again at the same time, then you're in trouble.
That's the problem,
But
though.
if
We're all going to
you
have
had a couple of
PTSD.
injuries now- Yeah, but if you had a couple of injuries, it would be all right.
Mm.
It's just they're all at the same time.
Yeah, and
Yeah. You know, I don't think I'd do that much more, but I can also see the other side of if we don't sign players, we could easily go down kind of vibe. But I'd be very reluctant to spend any money now, knowing that you've got really good players in most positions that are going to be there in a month.
yeah, I don't get me wrong. I get where you're coming from. I think the biggest problem at Spurs, as well as any club, would be communication, because Levy tends to only do. They sort of call them like fan forum things, but the people there are selected by the club, and that tends to happen at the end of a season when it's gone well or when there's a fresh start or something. Like,
Yeah,
it doesn't tend to be in moments like this where we're in the trenches. You know, we need a leader. You know, we need to see a light. We need to know where we're headed, and I think I can get why he doesn't want to, but I think as well it could help him if he says, right, you know, just say, we know that our players will be back. We know we're capable. Just say something like that. Just, you know, give some
if
hope.
the feeling's bad around the club, it
yeah.
makes it hard to succeed no matter what.
Because the problem
Even
is,
if you're spending the money, you've got the right player, the right manager. If the feeling's bad, it's bad.
Yeah, exactly. So, because right now it's not going to improve, and even if we start winning 3 games in a row, the atmosphere is still going to be very hostile. So, rather than be the face of that hostility, at least show how the effect the effect it has upon everyone, not just the fans, not just the players, and show that you're willing to give everything you can into fixing it, whatever that may be. Whether he goes, right, we will get to the summer and we will fix this, we will, you know, sort this out, whether it's the medical department, whatever, you know, just show that you're not out of ideas, because I think that's a fear amongst a lot of people as well, that, oh, you know, are we going to sack another manager? Are we going to sell the players he's bought again and then just, you know, go through the cycle?
Yeah, no, totally agree. I think Man United were in a very similar situation. I totally agree.
To be honest, I do have a strong feeling that Romero will be gone this summer. From
I can see that.
His own interviews and everything. And I don't expect him to be the only one. I have a sad hunch that Kulusevski could follow.
And in that case, then there would be an issue, and you'd need to spend it.
Saying there would be widespread panic if we lost Kulusevski and Romero would be an understatement. I suppose.
No, I think.
But anyway, I've gone on about them. Basically, we're not in a good place. I just think we need a new face of Tottenham in a way. We need someone else to just give us hope right now. And
a manager?
No, because I think it needs to be above that. I
don't. That's fair. It was a question I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
Answer. Yeah.
But I think it needs to be above that, where we've had so many disappointing moments with Levy. Don't get me wrong, we've had some great moments under his
Mm.
chairmanship, whatever you want to call it.
Kenya?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, sure. But it's just that fear of what's he going to do next.
Yeah.
Is that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And look, I expect us to be fine. It does feel quite melodramatic, but at the end of the day,
Mm.
we are 15th as well, so there
Yeah,
is
yeah,
reason to
yeah.
be fearful.
Yeah.
But
Right.
anyway,
Should we see what we had fifth and sixth? Yeah.
well, sixth comes up first. So sixth, we both had Villa.
Oh, yeah. I
After
think
Villa,
that's a fairly decent shout.
yeah,
I think they'll do well to finish sixth, but
mm,
I don't think they'll be that far off it. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. His
They
league hangover's been their issue, I think.
Yeah, they've lost Duran now for what is it, 77 million euros? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not bad.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't even know what to say to that. It's just
It's,
nuts. But
um,
yeah,
yeah,
is what it is. Yeah, I think Villa are in the right direction and positive still, I'd
yeah,
say.
yeah, and I think that sale kills any hope Arsenal had of getting Watkins. I mean, there's no way Villa
Mm.
say goodbye to their two strikers in the same window, especially in a
Mm.
January window. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah,
They could do with a centre back.
yeah, yeah, they lost Diego Carlos went at the start of the window, I think,
Yeah.
um,
And Mings'
and
injury
Mings, yeah,
seems to
yeah.
have flared up
So
again. So
I think they've still got a good squad.
yeah,
They had a
top
great
manager.
match against Celtic the other night.
Yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah. Brilliant. Yeah.
4-2.
Morgan Rogers has been
Yeah,
brilliant.
yeah, yeah. He's been fantastic this season.
Yeah.
So I think yeah, Villa. There's a lot of positives there right now. They're still progressing. They're still going up. I think. I mean, I know they're in the Champions League right now, but I think sixth you'd probably take. They're in the knockouts. Who knows how far they
Yeah.
could go in the
A good
Champions
run in
League?
the cup
Hmm.
and somewhere around sixth, I think they'd be
Yeah.
happy enough with. I just think they
Yeah.
want to stay in Europe.
Well, hopefully not a great run in the FA Cup because they've got Spurs next.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
no, totally agree.
yeah. Okay, so moving on to fifth. Da 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 da
You'll do.
da.
I'm surprised we both had him in fifth.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a weird year. I think Eric got the benefit of the doubt after the FA Cup final and all the injuries last year.
Mm,
One, because there was no one obvious to bring in, and
mhm.
two, because I think the fans were behind him.
Yeah.
Obviously, he lost a lot of games, and that went. I was excited when you had sort of Ratcliffe, and then you had all these people coming in that seemed like they were geniuses, like Dan Ashworth, who's now very, very quickly gone. Jason Wilcox, the City CEO, Omar Barada. It looked like it was sort of becoming a well-run thing because
Mm,
the Glazers, unlike Levy, financially have been horrendous. They just take money out of the club. They don't.
mm,
They haven't put anything in it. They haven't invested in infrastructure, the stadium, the training ground, nothing. They've just run it dry. And every few years, bought someone for an enormous amount of money that's going to sell a load of shirts, and paid all of our players ridiculous amounts of money.
mm,
So, yeah, it's certainly not that anymore.
mm.
But the personalities seem to have clashed. Yeah, Dan Ashworth leaving is a big worry for the culture of the club. They cut a load of people's jobs,
Mm,
staff, stewards, everything. The way they've treated the fans is horrendous. I mean, Jim Ratcliffe said in an interview with Andy Mitten, who's is the best Man United journalist, that uh, there's no reason that Man United fans shouldn't have to pay the prices that Fulham pay. You're not living in Fulham.
God.
If you want that, buy Fulham.
Mm,
You're talking about the biggest football club in England, if not in the world.
mm,
Yeah, regardless of results, I think feeling will be bad because of the culture he seems to have set. Whereas I think last year the narrative was he set a very professional, serious culture. Now it seems to be one that has no regard for human life.
mm.
But to the football side of it, we've been poor. Yeah, the
Yeah.
back three is bizarre. Someone told me recently that only two teams have won a Premier League with a back three, and
Oh.
that was Chelsea and QPR with Terry Venables. Won the English First Division, I think.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, not that pessimistic. Also not that optimistic. I like Delict.
Mm.
I think he's been a good signing. I'm not sure what sort of outside public opinion is, but I
Yeah.
think he looks a good player. Maguire in a back three looks even better.
Mm.
So yeah, happy with him. Martinez has had a rough year, but seems to sort of be picking it up.
Mm.
Mainu has had a couple of injuries, but looks decent still. Ugarte looks a top player. Ahmad always looked a decent little player, but no one could have seen this come in. Where else do you want to go across the pitch? Xerxes had a horrendous time when he was booed off and has
Mm.
now become a bit of a cult hero for it. Everyone's really behind him and wants him to do well.
Yeah.
Hoyland, I've been surprised by. He's been rubbish, really, really bad. And I hope that changes because I like him. He
Mm.
works hard. You can't fault
You,
him for that.
you can see the talent inside him, and I think
Yeah.
it's a mix of being young, um,
Mm.
a club of the stature of Manchester United, and also the
Yeah. Yeah.
chaos
Yeah.
surrounding it. It's so tough to stand out in that. Um,
Yeah.
so
No, absolutely.
I don't think anyone can be too harsh on him. Um, I mean, he's
The one thing I would
21.
say, the one thing I would say is he's managed to look more raw than he did last year. And I know we've changed system and all of that, but
Mm,
he looks like he scraps and he works hard. No
mm,
one can doubt that. But he looks sort of less tactically aware.
mm,
And I know he's 21 and I know you can explain it all by that, absolutely. But for 70 million, I'd want to see a little bit more.
mm.
So
Yeah, yeah.
maybe that's an entitled view,
No,
but
I think
that's how I feel.
when you
Yeah.
spend that kind of money, you do want
Yeah.
a more instant response from that. And
Yeah.
if you'd maybe got him at 23, 24, chances are you'd have to spend more, but you
Yeah.
might have
Yeah. Yeah.
a more well-rounded,
Yeah.
lethal player. So, yeah.
My only worry is he seems to have regressed in that sense. And
Mm,
it's probably because he's playing a new system and he has to learn it.
yeah, yeah,
Absolutely. But yeah, don't know. Jury's out on that. Really hope he does well, but not
yeah.
impressed this season.
I really like Amarim. I know Spurs were looking at him, but then realised we'd have to pay, so he said no. Um, but yeah,
Mm.
I think he's a manager that you should stick with for a while, see
Mm.
how it goes.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's dependent on recruitment and everything, as I think it always is for a manager. Um,
Yeah, we've got to start getting recruitment right and we've
mm,
got to start paying people less. I mean,
yeah,
our wage structure is horrendous.
yeah. The fact
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
Rashford's sitting in the stands with 350K a week or
No,
whatever,
it's nuts. Yeah.
it's insane.
Yeah. No,
Um,
totally agree. Yeah,
but
we've got to sort that out.
yeah, I think you've always got the substance of something. It's just,
Mm.
will your board allow it to grow, basically?
Yeah.
Because you're always going to be able to get a lot of money. You're always going to be able to attract top players. It's
Mm.
just, can you get the right ones? Can you actually think things through? Can you listen to your players and managers to say, oh,
Yeah.
this is what you need, you know?
The one thing I'd say Man United fans are good at, and not the millions of people you see on Twitter that have different usernames and all that
Mm,
end in the numbers and everything, but Man United fans in real life
mm,
are good at sticking with a manager. And similarly, like you said, especially with Eric, sort of got to the stage where they were sick of the cycle and just thought we'd rather take a gamble on someone that sort of looks like they care
mm,
and leave him in and see what happens. I
yeah.
think that was the feeling with Ollie. That was the feeling with Eric. With the new sort of football ownership, isn't maybe that will change a little bit, but in recent times we've been pretty good with sticking with the manager.
Mm,
I don't, yeah. He is one specifically. I always think it's a bit of a weak excuse of, oh, he needs to bring the right players in and the players that fits his system. But when you've gone to a counter-attacking team that play sort of 4-2-3-1 to a team that's going to progress the ball really, really slowly across the pitch and dominate the ball and play 3-4-3 with two number 10s, I think you do have to wait and see the
Mm.
types of players he brings in first, because those two styles are very, very different.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
I
I think the negativity comes around Ratcliffe, to be honest, more
mm,
than the football. I don't think anyone's that desperately worried about the football side of it. And yeah, like you lot, I think the league position will be poor, but a
mhm.
good run in the cup, and I think everyone will be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Maybe a tad more optimistic than you, to be honest.
Well, if you start losing to Leicester and Everton, give me a call.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
No, I agree.
let's move on to who we chose to be fourth to second. So I had Newcastle, Liverpool, and Arsenal. You had Tottenham, Liverpool, and Arsenal. We
Yeah,
both,
I think Spurs without the injuries would have been somewhere around there, somewhere between seventh and fourth. But yeah, obviously that's a write-off now.
okay, so let's talk about Liverpool then. I mean, oh,
We
you
have
must be
to.
buzzing.
Yeah, there's sort of a weird professionalism around it. It all seems sort of,
Mm,
I don't know if it feels the same to you. Maybe it's just because I'm so bored of Liverpool winning, but it just I never watch Liverpool and think, oh, they're brilliant or exciting or really dominating a team.
mm.
They just always seem to win and do it quite comfortably.
Yeah,
But I'm never that sort of blown away by them,
at the start of
which
the
is weird.
season,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I'm liking how they're playing. But
Mm,
I don't know if it's just because I've got used to it. But
yeah,
yeah,
maybe.
there is a. Um, I think it's just down to them being clinical.
Yeah,
That
and there's
it's just
not
like,
that
oh,
air that
they've
Man
won.
City have. Yeah,
No,
there's not that sort of, oh God, we've got Liverpool next week, we're going to get battered.
mm,
But you just sort of go there and think, yeah, we'll probably lose 2-0,
mm,
and that'll be that. Whereas City, you go, in the past, you go, oh, they're going to batter us, like, God forbid. Or Arsenal, they're a little bit more dramatic. You know you're in for a
mm,
bit of a fight and there's a
mm.
bit more going on. It just seems very sort of, I don't know what the word is, but sort of formulaic of we're just going to
Yeah,
do the same thing every week,
yeah,
and no one's going to stop us. And we're
yeah.
just going to keep winning 1 or 2-0,
It's
and we'll win the league.
it's very composed. There's
Yeah,
the only
it's impressive.
the only
It's
stories
impressive.
coming out of Liverpool have been about contracts and stuff. There's been no,
Yeah,
oh,
that's,
this player's
yeah.
saying this or doing
Mm,
like interviews like that. It's just been focused on that, and those
yeah. And
contracts are big, but
yeah,
I I don't think it's as negative as other clubs often face in the
yeah.
media.
No, totally agree. And to go from being one of the most exciting teams in the league under Klopp
Mm,
to one of the most sort of professional formulaic teams is credit to the manager, because one of the reasons they were poor, especially last couple of years, is they can dip, because
mm,
when you're sort of heavy metal sort of vibe, it can go wrong.
yeah,
When it's great, and when it's bad, it's really, really bad.
mm,
They just look just every week. I think they're going to win 2-0. There's
yeah,
no, I don't think they'll win any more, and I don't think they'll concede.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's,
don't know. They need a big moment, I think, for everything to go wrong. I think if they lose to Everton or something, I could see
or Tottenham
maybe a
in
bit
the
of an
League
avalanche.
Cup.
Yeah, they need a really big day for me to not think they're going to win the league. Yeah, been impressed with Arne Slot, and
Mm,
not necessarily a team I enjoy watching, even though I didn't like Liverpool
yeah,
ever. Uh, Under Klopp, I would go, oh, that would be a good game, or yeah, I'd love
mm,
to watch that. Even though I'd hope they'd lose,
yeah,
I'd be entertained. I
mm,
don't get that feeling at all with Liverpool this year. But yeah, but I think they're rightfully top, and I think they'll win the league.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Fair play to them.
Mm.
They got a lot of very good
Yeah.
players. So let's move on
Arsenal's a
to
weird one, aren't they? Yeah.
Arsenal. Yeah, I mean, I mean, obviously, I've never liked them. I think terrible football. You know, set piece
Yeah.
wankers, all that. um,
Yeah, weird, isn't it? I seem to have underwhelmed, and sort
mm,
of in a situation where no one's that happy.
mm,
but they're second.
Yeah.
Yeah, really don't know what to think about Arsenal.
Mm.
Need
And
a centre forward, I think is fair to say.
yeah, they do
Yeah.
need someone to just finish off their chances. I think they've got City at the weekend, and if City win that, they go within 3 points of Arsenal, which is
Yeah.
crazy to think about as well. Um, so yeah, I mean, I I don't think Arsenal are certainly this season not close to being league champions. I don't see the fire in them. I don't see the grit and determination to go on a run to beat this Liverpool team that would need them not to
Mm.
slip because they're are they 6 points
God, it would
behind?
be so funny if Van Dijk slipped or something and cost them the league, wouldn't it?
But I think Liverpool are like 6 points clear, but they've still got that game in hand. So there's still a big
Yeah.
gap between them and Arsenal, and I just don't see Arsenal being able because not only do they need to gain the points, but if they're going to be on the same points, then the goal difference needs to go up massively. I just don't see them being able to do that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think they're I think they're a very emotional team and
Mm.
club, and I
Mm.
think they feel those highs a lot higher than most teams, but
Yeah.
also feel the lows a lot lower. And where
Yeah.
they're not quite at the level of Liverpool, it seems a lot more negative than maybe it should.
Mm.
But yeah, I don't think the feeling's great around Arsenal, and I don't see them winning the league.
Mm. Yeah. Well,
And then City,
you don't
brilliant.
know who's at the top. Oh, it's Man City. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming most people probably expected them to win the league. Uh,
City are third,
no, it's the
fourth.
difference. Yeah, they're fourth.
Oh my God, how are they still fourth?
I know. That's
I
the thing.
didn't
That's what I'm
realize
saying.
that. I thought
You
they
know,
were in sixth or something. Yeah.
and after this weekend, they could be 3 points off second, or if Forest win, it's crazy.
Yeah,
They've had such a topsy turvy season where it's like, oh no, they're
weird.
getting back on track. Oh wait, no, they're not. Um,
Mm.
obviously getting smashed at home by Tottenham didn't help. Take me back.
Yeah, it's hard
But
to have an opinion. Just you can see
yeah,
them winning every game for
yeah.
the rest of the season,
I,
or
I,
continuing like that for the whole of it.
I don't think they'll win the league, but I mean, I don't know if you saw in the Champions League, but they've been drawn against Real Madrid in their
That'll be a
playoff,
great time. Yeah.
and then afterwards they might have to face Bayern Munich or something. So yeah,
Mm.
I I guess realistically, the FA Cup's their only big shot of a trophy. They can beat those sides in the Champions League, but I I don't see them winning the Premier League this season. I really don't. Even though I think they'll
I think
finish second.
Liverpool win the league, yeah, but I don't want to write City off because they're one of those teams that can just go and win 20 games in a row.
Mm. Oh yeah,
Yeah, but yeah, I
but
think Liverpool win the
could
league.
could this
I'm not
Liverpool
ready
team
to
do
write
that?
them off.
That's all I'd say.
I
Would
think
they
if
be able to?
Liverpool lose a big, I think if Liverpool lose to Everton, I could see them having a bad month,
Mm.
and that could be enough.
Yeah,
But yeah, I don't know. I'm not willing to write City off yet,
yeah.
but maybe that's in hope that Liverpool will drop off. But yeah,
Okay, so that's us looking back at our league predictions for this season. Now, something else we also did was we created a transfer 11, didn't we?
yeah,
Here it is. So, do you want to read out the team?
yeah. So Ramsdale in goal, I think has underwhelmed. I know he's been
Mm.
injured a little bit, but I think of the obvious names, I think we could have put Kepa in there. Maybe I don't know
Yeah.
anyone else that you could think. The new
Uh,
Spurs goalkeeper looks all right, but I think it's a bit early for that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, can't think the Cells. Oh, but we had a
Sales, yeah.
Forest player in there.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, could have had half of Forest signings. Yeah, yeah. Don't know. Ramsdale in goal. Maybe we got a little bit wrong, but there's not that many other obvious people.
Mm.
Calafiori, yeah, he's done all right. I think that was off the hype of the Euros that maybe we got a bit carried away.
Mm.
Again, I think Kirkes is probably the obvious one that would go in there now.
Was he not at Bournemouth last season?
Oh, maybe he was.
I
I
feel
don't
like he
remember him
was.
last year. I
I
don't
don't
remember
know.
him last year.
Maybe I've
So
seen
maybe
so much of him that I have all these memories suddenly.
yeah.
But yeah, I
Milenko.
don't. I don't
Oh,
remember
gone.
there being a ton of signings in the summer
No.
when we were doing this. So it was like it was a bit of slim pickings for like, yeah,
Yeah.
maybe. Um,
No, I agree. Yeah.
but I mean,
Milenkovic and Delict,
mm,
I think that's probably fair enough.
yeah,
I can't think of many other centre backs.
yeah.
Hillman we were considering, but yeah.
Well, yeah, it's good that we didn't.
Yeah. Wan-Bissaka at right back. I think he's been
Yeah,
alright. Yeah,
yeah.
he's slotted in fairly okay.
Mm.
And Andre Onana in holding midfield had a really good start to the year and then sort of
Yeah,
dropped off, unfortunately.
yeah, he scored a
So,
few goals for them at the start, didn't he? But
yeah, oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I,
Can't think of anyone obvious. Can you?
I no, I wouldn't say so. I,
No.
I think that we've seen what Onana's are capable of, and I think
Mm.
you know Villa in the knockouts of the Champions League, he could be someone that very much helps them to get as far as they can in that. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, in terms of so far, it has been probably about a 6, 7 ish.
Yeah.
Decent, but might have expected a bit more.
Yeah. No, I think that's very fair. Sancho has done
Mm.
okay, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen a ton of Chelsea games, and obviously
Yeah.
they have to do a lot of rotation to keep all their players happy and whatnot. But yeah, I think he's grabbed a few good goals, assists. He's
Yeah.
playing, which is the main thing for him, and it'll be interesting to see what happens in the summer.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Minter had a good
Oof.
start to the year and then he got
Mm.
injured, didn't he? I
Yeah, he's
think he
popped up
could still have a good
with
year.
yeah. Didn't he score against you the other week?
He did,
Yeah.
yes.
Just in case
Mitro's
you
an
forgot.
interesting one in number 10 that we had.
Mm.
I think he
Yeah.
has had a good year, but yeah, maybe again,
Mm.
expectation was a bit too high.
I think again as well. He started well, but just I don't know if he got injured or if he just fell out of favour. But
Mm.
he, he hasn't quite reached the heights that he potentially could have. Again, though, it's his
No.
first season
Yeah, it's not
starting
to
at a
say that he
club.
won't. Yeah,
Yeah. Um, I think at the end of next season we'll know much more about what type of player he is and
yeah.
his potential. I mean, I know he's not a young kid anymore, but it still takes a few years to see it in players approaching their prime.
No, absolutely. And then finishing it off with the strikers, which I think we've got dead on, to
Mm.
be honest. Liam Delap and Solanke.
Yeah, I mean Delap, incredible. He's
Yeah,
done amazing
brilliant.
for Ipswich, and Solanke, I think he might not have scored as many goals as he maybe should have with some of the chances he's had, but his
Mm.
off the ball work in terms of pressing and running back to help defend and also holding up the ball sometimes when needed. I think he really suits Angie's system. So I've been delighted with him.
Yeah, no, can't disagree with that. And I don't think there's anyone obvious in centre forward that we've missed either.
No,
So no, I
so,
think we did pretty damn well with that team.
yeah, oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Starting off, the 12:30 game is Forest against Brighton, which could be quite tasty indeed. Um, how are you feeling towards that game?
I'm gonna go with a Forest win. I think at home,
Mm.
and I don't think Brighton have been brilliant. A little bit of a resurgence, but yeah, I'm gonna go 2-0 Forest.
Yeah, I've gone 2-1. Um, Brighton do have a lot of good attacking players. Obviously, Forest can defend well. They didn't against Bournemouth, but I'd expect at home for them to be a lot better. So,
Mm.
yeah, I still think that they would grab the win, though. And then,
Cool.
I mean, next up, we've got another uh, tight game in Bournemouth
Mm.
Liverpool. I mean,
I'm going for Desmond for this one.
2-2.
I'm going for 2-2.
I've gone similar. However, I do think Liverpool will just find a way. So I've gone
Mm.
3-2. I,
Mm.
as we were saying, they're so professional. I just think that yeah, they're gonna be able to get the winner somehow, even if it's
Yeah.
Nunes in the what was it like 95th minute again. Uh,
I'm just going away at Bournemouth. I think Bournemouth have been so good. I've got a bit of blind
mm.
hope.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They've been doing great. And then a big 6-pointer in Everton and Leicester. You know, this really could have a
Yeah.
big effect on who goes down. Um, what have you put for that?
I'm going with a cracker. I'm going with 0-0.
Oh, I've gone for 1-0. I think Everton might just be able to sneak a goal. They've gone on a decent little run recently, so you know, um, they could go with
Everton can't
Spurs.
score. Leicester can't defend.
Well,
So
yeah. Well,
I've gone with 0-0.
Everton can score 3 goals against anyone. I think you'll find. Uh, and then, yeah, I guess another 6-pointer in Ipswich and Southampton, both in the relegation zone, both needing points desperately. I think that Ipswich will win 2-1, but yeah, I, I, I don't know. They're both capable of sort of throwing games away, and
Mm.
I mean, yeah, they've both done it too many times to want to be safe in the Prem. But I still think that Ipswich will be able to win at home.
I've gone something similar. Yeah, I've gone 1-0. I think Ipswich at home. Maybe I
Mm.
think Southampton could nick a goal. No, I haven't. I haven't gone 1-0.
Oh,
I've gone with 3-1 Ipswich because I knew
oh,
Southampton would nick a goal.
oh. Well, there you go.
Yeah, I've gone 3-1 Ipswich.
Okay, then moving on to Newcastle Fulham, which could be quite interesting after
Yeah.
Newcastle's game with Bournemouth. So I've put 3-1 Newcastle. I think that they will get um, back to winning ways at home. I think for them it was just coming up against a much better side on the day. However, I do think they could very much get the better of Fulham.
Yeah, I gave the game away. I've gone with 1-0 Newcastle,
Yeah.
but I'm not particularly confident in that. And yeah, away at St James's, it's hard to go against Newcastle, so I've gone
Mm.
1-0.
Yep. Fair. And then I mean, every Wolves fan's probably gonna be out on Saturday night because they host Villa. I mean, I put 2-0 Villa. Did you have much different?
I've gone the exact same, in
Yeah.
fact.
Oh, how did I know you'd
Yeah.
be the same?
Right.
Yeah, I just don't see any hope for Wolves now. I really don't. It's a
No,
shame.
neither do I. Yeah.
And then,
Well, moving on to Sunday,
yeah,
I can
go
introduce
on.
this one
Okay,
for you.
okay,
I'll
okay,
get your opinion.
okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
Brentford Spurs.
I don't see that
Big
game.
Andy's
No,
last
no,
game.
no, no. Yeah, just last game. What? You can't say that. As a fellow Aussie, you can't say that.
That's a real 6-pointer, isn't it?
No, Brentford are miles above us. We're not. It was a 6-pointer when we played at Goodison.
I remember your survival, yeah. But yeah,
Um,
what have you gone with?
I've gone with 2-1 Brentford. I've got
I
no
don't
hope.
want to be presumptuous, but I've written something down and I'm trying to work out why I've put it.
You didn't put
I've
five
gone with
nil
4-1.
4-1. Oh,
I've
you
gone with 4-1 Brentford. And these are well thought out. So I'm
okay?
going to have to stick with it.
Okay. I mean, we both expect Brentford to win and Spurs to only score one, so yeah.
Mm. Right, moving on to the highlight of the weekend. Man
Oh
United
yes,
at home to Crystal Palace. What are you going to go with?
5-0 Palace. No, I actually think you'll be able to beat Palace. I'm going to say 2-1 to United.
I'm going 2-1 Palace.
Ooh.
I think us at home, I'd like to think we'd be better, but it's the kind of game we just always tend to lose.
Hmm.
Well
I
organised, well structured, but exciting. Mateta's a handful. They're looking good again, Palace. Yeah, I'm gonna go with us lose.
that's a 6-pointer actually, isn't it? You're both. I think you're
Yeah,
one behind the other in the league. So
in the race
yeah.
for 12th. Yeah.
Oh. And then I mean another big game. Arsenal host Man City. It's it's the one we're all looking forward to.
Mm.
What have you put for it?
Yeah, I think Arsenal have to go out and win this one,
Hmm.
and I think they will. I think Arsenal absolutely have to go for it this year. There's no excuse.
Hmm.
They're at home as well. I watched City in the week, and they were not good against Bruges.
No.
Savinho was fantastic when he came on, but they were poor before that.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I'm going to go 1-0 Arsenal.
I've gone 2-1 Arsenal. I think similar to you. If City win it, that is really poor from Arsenal. If they're only 3 points ahead of them at this point after the season
Mm.
City have had. I know Arsenal have been missing players too, but on the whole, they've still seemed more stable. Um, and if that's equivalent to City imploding, that's not great.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think in a way it's a must win, even though City aren't top of the league.
no, I agree with you. Totally agree with you.
Okay, then Monday night we've got Chelsea West Ham. Chelsea have
The,
played the last few
return of Pop.
Mondays.
Yeah, they are becoming a bit of a Monday night
Mm,
team.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, bit of trivia. Who do you think has been where do you think Monday Night Football has most commonly been hosted? So what ground?
Oh,
I got it first try, but I heard this on a podcast.
I mean, in a way, you'd expect it to be someone in the Europa League, but
What ground is the most Monday Night Football-y?
for some reason, the first ground that went in my head was Craven Cottage.
No,
Uh,
no, it's not
no.
Craven Cottage. You've also got to think of teams that have been in the Premier League while Monday Night Football's become a big thing and all of that.
Yeah, I don't know when it
But yeah,
started. It's been around a while now.
no, I don't know. But who's the most Monday Night Football-y?
It's definitely not Tottenham. We
No,
rarely
not
play
Spurs.
on. I feel like it is a lower half team or a team that you would expect to be in the lower half.
It's not a team that has been in Europe.
No, no, that's what I mean.
No,
Um,
it's not.
no, is it? Is it Goodison Park?
No,
No,
no, not
they've been
bad
a few
shout.
times. I'm just trying to think of someone that's been in the Premier League a fair little while, but also hasn't done too good.
I think they're the type of team you always end up seeing them at home under the lights.
Mm. See, I'd say that's Goodison Park. I feel like a lot of the games I see
Hmm.
there's an evening game.
Well, it's not Goodison.
No, no, I know that. Um,
Don't know what other
what is it?
clues to
Oh, is
give you.
it Selhurst?
It is.
Selhurst,
Yeah.
yeah,
There you go. Yeah.
yeah. Palace have
Very
been in there
random
a
bit
lot.
of trivia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very Monday Night Football-y.
Hmm.
But yeah. Right. So Chelsea West Ham, what are you going for?
I just threw away my predictions. I've gone for 3-1 Chelsea. I think they'll be back to winning
Ooh.
ways.
I've gone with a bit of blind optimism for Graham Potter, and I've gone with 2-1 West Ham.
Wow. God.
Away. Yeah.
Oh, away in a manger. Um, and then there is actually a game on Wednesday night, which is the Merseyside derby that was supposed to happen before.
Oh, God. I haven't even thought about that.
Now,
Oh, you
it,
have to come back to me. Why don't you give me your opinion,
I,
and then I'll base my prediction after you.
okay. Well, I do think that Moyes will get the boys up for it. I think Everton just will have to be. However, as we've said repeatedly now, Liverpool are just so professional. So I think they'll win 2-0.
Mm, I'm gonna go crazy.
Go on.
Last game at Goodison,
Go on.
last game. I think it's going to be nuts. I think Liverpool are going to score. It's going to go off, and then Everton are going to equalise, and it's going to go crazy. I'm going to go
5-4?
3-2 Everton.
Oh, 3-2. Oh my God. When
Yeah,
was the
I'm
last
going with a
time
big
Everton
one.
won 3-2 at home? What?
When was the last time they scored 3 goals?
Yeah, just, yeah, okay. But anyway, so they were our predictions for this upcoming week.
So, in a day of predictions and evaluating, we've looked at Man United, we've looked at Spurs, we've looked a little bit towards the future, and we've even made some predictions of our own again. So, I hope you've enjoyed. And for all you Forest fans, don't worry, we do think you'll stay up.
Just about.